Welcome to PBCJ's A Different Life, your window into the world of persons with disabilities. I'm your host, Dr. Christine Hendricks. We have an action-packed episode in store for you today, as we'll be keeping pace with the Jamaica Paralympic Association and the phenomenal individuals who comprise its membership. When we return, we'll be hearing from our guest, President of the Jamaica Paralympic Association, Mr. Christopher Samuda. Stick with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back to A Different Life. I'm Dr. Christine Hendricks, and today we'll be getting up close and personal with an organization that demonstrates that persons with disabilities have amazing talents just like other persons without disabilities and can achieve extraordinary feats, the Jamaica Paralympic Association. We go now to Mr. Christopher Samuda, President of the Jamaica Paralympic Association.
Well, from a legal perspective, we are a registered company under the Companies Act, not for profit, without a shareholding, but limited by guarantee. And we were incorporated in 2008. And our predecessor was the Jamaica Paraplegic Association. But the International Paralympic Committee had indicated to us from the very inception that they wanted a change of name because paraplegic had certain derogatory meaning to it. So we incorporated the Jamaica Paralympic Association, and it is a governing body for parasports in Jamaica. We have a board of directors, a very functioning board of directors, and we have an athletes commission. And the athletes chair sits on the board of directors as a director of the Jamaica Paralympic Association. So we are, in fact, a registered entity. We are members of the International Paralympic Committee. We are members of the America's Paralympic Committee. And we enjoy a very good relationship with the international community. As president, I chair the board of directors. I'm not an executive president. We have a sport administrator that deals with the daily operations of the association. But of course, the board is a policy-making body. So we, in fact, implement policy, and our sport administrator also is a part of that process. But then, of course, she implements the managerial aspect of the association. As a small body, the directors also have a role to play. And we do so simply because we do not have a monolithic staff. We have, in fact, just one sport administrator. So, in fact, we get our hands dirty, as it were. So we have to deal with games, the delivery of games. We have to deal with advocacy programs. We have to deal with marketing and branding education. So it gives us a perspective, and I think we are very pleased with that as well, because it gives us a deeper insight into the administration of sport, and we understand now the roles of persons who are, in fact, in executive positions in other associations. So it is a team-building experience for us, and we are a team in the Paralympic movement. We are trying to expand our revenue base, but with the challenges in the macroeconomic situation and also globally, there is, of course, a challenge with the sponsorship dollar. We are sponsored, but some of our money comes from personal contributions, and we get a stipend from the Sports Development Foundation. That has been a challenge over the years, as obtains with other sport associations. We just simply have to ensure that we can meet our daily needs, which we have been doing so far, and we just have to ensure that we amass the necessary capital and income in order to send our athletes abroad for the games. And so far, we have missed one or two because of funding, but certainly not the Paralympic Games. We have always had an appearance on that occasion. We promote our successes, and not necessarily all of the successes on the field of play. We also look at our structure, and we say to prospective sponsors, we are in fact a going concern. We are in fact a functioning organization. And that in and of itself should make it appealing. Regrettably, in the sporting world, there are not many organizations or associations that are organized from a governance perspective. But we have a very strong governance framework, and that, of course, we say to the sponsors, invest in, because you know that when you put your money with the association, it's going directly for the benefit of the athletes. The successes of our athletes over the years despite the limited resources, despite the fact that they do not have the facilities as other developed countries, we have performed very creditably. Alfonso Cunningham has performed exceptionally well. Separate and apart from, I think, an Indian para-athlete, he holds a record for breaking his own world record 3 times at one event. We don't have that in the Olympic movement. So we advertise and promote our successes on the field, but we also indicate to prospective sponsors that we have a strong governance framework and we have committed persons on the team who are just simply interested in advancing the interest of our para-athletes. Well, you know, for Jamaica, track and field is always the flagship. So from time immemorial, we have been participating in track and field. But quite recently, we have been expanding the menu of sport. So historically, we went to the 2020 Tokyo Paralympic Games for the first time with a judo athlete and a taekwondo athlete. So we are, in fact, introducing what persons perceive to be the non-traditional sports. We don't treat them like that at all. So we have judo now, we have taekwondo. Recently, we were able to break into the world of surfing in a very aggressive way. And we had 2 participants at an international competition, and they did very well. They, in fact, had beaten fellows who were surfers for 6-7 years, and they had just taken it up 3 months. We're also into pistol shooting. We're into swimming as well. And what we'll be doing is going into team sports like goalball. So we're opening up the options for our para-athletes because we feel that progress is not just simply doing one event, which is track and field, and gaining medals in that. What we want to do is to be very competitive in a number of disciplines and demonstrate our progress. It was not called the Paralympic Games initially, but then it morphed itself into the Paralympic Games. So we have had representatives and known representatives of, for instance, Neville Sinclair, who is our sport manager now. He was a very good competitor, a medalist at international and regional games. And in fact, his generation set the tone for what is happening now. So it's years that we have been competing in the Paralympic Games. We have been competing at the Para-Pan Games, and we have been competing at the World Championships Games. So when you have an Olympic game now, Paralympic Games always follows the Olympic game. The World Championship, we mirror the World Championship in track and field. And the Pan Am Games takes place in the same country in which the Para-Pan Games takes place. So we have been participating in a lot of regional and international games and also individual tournaments, taekwondo, judo, swimming, and now we are even in the field of badminton. So we're growing the number of sports, and I think that is an indication of the progress that we are making in parasports. As you know, it was postponed from 2020, so in fact it occurred in 2021. We did not have any medals then, but creditable performances. We have in the para movement what we call quota systems, which have really limited the number of athletes that we have had at para games. And you can perhaps understand that from an economic perspective, because unlike the Olympic Games, when you only have one male and female 100 meters, in the Paralympic movement you have about 7 or 8 because of the nature of the disabilities. So there has to be a system that curtails, because if that was not the position, perhaps the Paralympic Games would take about 2 months. So we understand that, but at the same time we are saying there has to be some sort of fairness. And because we are limited by virtue of that quota system, we don't have sufficient athletes going to the Paralympic Games. We are hoping that that will change in the near future so as to allow talent to emerge on the international stage without any limitation. So 2021, when the Games were celebrated, no medals, but we are hoping that with France and the robust program that we are undertaking in the respective disciplines, that we will garner some medals here. Well, I'll start with Alfonso in javelin and also discus. Neville Sinclair has also been a leader in his generation. We have had Tanto Campbell and Sylvia, who have also distinguished themselves on the regional and international stage. They have been regional champions. They have also gone to the Commonwealth. We have our upcoming stars now, like Theodore Suba, Chadwick Campbell, and they have dedicated themselves. Younger generations, yes, we have 16-year-olds and 15-year-olds that are coming up. They have not made their mark on the regional and international stages yet, but we are very optimistic that they will. So over the years, we have had several who have distinguished themselves, world record holders. Alfonso was a world record holder. Silva was a regional holder. Tanta was a regional record holder, America's record holder. So we have had a lot of distinguished performances. What we have to do now is, as I say, broaden the menu of sports that we offer in the Paralympic movement, and we are doing so with a measure of success.
We have to take a short break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we'll be hearing more about the para-athletes and the Jamaica Paralympic Association. Back in a moment. Welcome back to A Different Life. I'm your host, Dr. Christine Hendricks, and we've been talking with President of the Jamaica Paralympic Association, Mr. Christopher Samuda.
Has affected the training schedule, has affected tournaments that were prior to the Olympic Games, and that was also another debilitating factor for us because some of our athletes could not go to the qualifying tournaments. They were not able to build up sufficient points and rankings in order to qualify. So from that perspective, from a competitive perspective, we were a little bit hampered. Thankfully, we have had a sports psychologist on board from day one, and therefore he was able to talk to them through the pandemic. So we didn't have any challenges where that is concerned. We were able to mentally orientate our athletes and say to them, this is something that everybody is experiencing. We can't put it on our shoulders as a badge and wear it and say, this is what is happening to us uniquely. What we have to do is to develop the tools, the human tools, emotional tools, and psychological tools in order to deal with the pandemic. And successfully, Jason, who is our sports psychologist, Dr. Jason Hamilton, has worked through the challenges with them to the extent that we did not have any problems where that is concerned. No depression, no sense of defeat because of the environmental factors. Absolutely not. And we still have him on board, and he's working with our athletes because separate and apart from the pandemic, there are issues, of course, in the disabled community that we have to face and we have to treat successfully. So he has been working with them, a sense of comfort with them, very committed. They are able to share with them details of their professional as well as their athletic career. And there has been a good rapport, a very good relationship. From a sports point of view, we'll be deepening and broadening our representation. In that, I expect in France that we will perhaps have about 6 or 7 sports represented in the para movement. And what people call non-traditional, I expect judo to be there, I expect taekwondo to be there, I expect surfing to be there, pistol shooting to be there. Those are some of the things that we perhaps seldom refer to, even in the Olympic movement. So we expect to have a lot in 2024 in Paris representing. We're still going to build our track and field. We're hoping that we'll be able to, of course, advance our advocacy in terms of the rights of the disabled, in terms of the privileges in certain instances for the disabled, respect for the disabled, have our environmental people or certainly the industry, the building industry, be extremely sensitive to the facilities that must be in place in order to ensure that the disabled have access to buildings and access to certain conveniences. What we also hope to do is to push those in the community who have the talent and who have the ability into positions of authority and decision making, and not necessarily in sport, because we have a lot of persons who are contributing significantly to government, to the economy, to the social fabric of our society. And we expect that in the coming years we'll develop an advocacy program that will sensitize them and will even give them the encouragement to make their mark in those spheres. So what we want to see is in decision-making positions in our society, members of the disabled community influencing the dialogue for change and transformation, influencing the perspectives at a national and regional level, and also representation at the international body as well. And that is something that we are taking seriously. I'm on the executive board for the America's Paralympic Committee, and I intend to put persons there. I'm not going to be there for a lifetime. I don't intend to be there for a lifetime. So there has to be succession and there has to be growth where that is concerned. So it looks bright for the Paralympic movement. We just simply have to get more people into the movement and create an understanding, a deeper understanding in Jamaicans of the value and the contribution of persons with disability.
Thank you for sharing with us, Mr. Samuda, and thank you and the members of your team for helping us to keep our dream alive for many persons with disabilities. When we come back from the break, we'll take another look at another support institution, the Salvation Army School for the Blind. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Salvation Army School for the Blind makes education accessible, available, and affordable to students who are legally blind or visually impaired. Its motto, United to Bring Out the Best.
I am Sean Harvey, Guidance Counselor for the Salvation Army School for the Blind and Visually Impaired Children, located at 57 Mannings Hill Road, Kingston 8.
The school was established in 1927 and until 1956 remained as a voluntary and private provision.
Our student population at the moment is consisted of 126 students, and we are what you would classify as a composite school, meaning that we operate from early childhood through to the secondary. And our students are generally between the ages of 4 to 20, doing a myriad of curriculum areas, which includes vocational, specifically art and craft, music, and food preparation related vocations, as well as our students also undertake the ministry exams, that is the primary exit profile, after which they matriculate to the school of their choice, and then they will attend whatever school that is. And the students who would have not, wouldn't necessarily be desirous of going to a school one of the school in the general population, one of the schools, one of the quote-unquote regular schools, right, your traditional schools. Those students who are not desirous of doing such will remain with us in our secondary department, going up to grade 11, where they are offered majority of the subjects, the traditional subjects that are done in the traditional schools. So your business subjects, principles of business, office administration, right, your maths, English, and history, social studies, art and craft, as well as home and family management.
The students from the time of enrollment are taught to see with the eyes of the heart so that they can absorb hope and achievement as opposed to doubt and despair.
The skill set that we offer to meet the special needs of our student population includes mobility and orientation, that is the ability of a totally blind or person with visual impairment to navigate the external space, being able to take the bus independently, being able to traverse supermarkets. So our students, we are a boarding institution, and that's the first thing we should also mention. And as a result of that, our students are from all island-wide. Hence, subsequent to graduating this school, our students should be able to travel, whether in the KMTR or island-wide, to wherever they live, independently of any sighted assistance. So we teach them that as well. We also have programs in independent daily living skills that allow our students to be able to prepare their own meal, and do all the necessary activities that would ensure that their homes are maintained properly. It's extremely important for a myriad of reasons. Number one, the skill set is here, right, and can not necessarily be found anywhere else. That speaks to knowing how to properly facilitate a child who is blind or of a visual impairment, because among who teaches here are some past students who ourselves we know what it takes for persons with or specific disability to lead a meaningful life. So for things like mobile technology related to education, you won't necessarily be able to find this body of knowledge base that will teach a blind child how to use his or her phone to navigate his way around, right? To use his phone to detect colors, who uses his phone to just lead an independent life. So it is extremely important. And one of the other extremely important factor of an institution such as this. Yes, we hear about the need to creating inclusive education, but our school here bridges the gap between both, because yes, we have an isolated primary program, right? But our students are able to matriculate whatever traditional high school they want to. I mean, I would have gone through the similar route, having gone to Calabar subsequent to graduating here at grade 6, as well as the great importance of using peers to build the self-esteem of another child. So somebody who would have recently lost their sight, institutions like these allow them to be in contact with, to live around and be inspired by persons like themselves. This type of environment, this enabling factor, cannot necessarily be found in any other segment of the population apart from ours.
Past students have become qualified in numerous disciplines, including physiotherapy, teaching, audio typing, clerical work, music, and other professional careers.
My experience here has produced me in such a way that I am back here as a guidance counselor, because I was able to be enrolled here in the grade infants program. Would have done all the activities that I would have mentioned earlier, benefited from all the educational offerings to be able to comfortably undertake and pass the common entrance at the time, right? And even while I was a student at Calabar, I would still board here because, like many of our students, I'm from Western Jamaica. So I was able to board here, learn to navigate the transportation route independently, go to and from school, be supported here in being assisted to complete assignments and so forth. And just my entire development as an independent person who is blind is owed to this institution.
This is Sashona Warp. She is the English teacher at the Salvation Army School for the Blind. She has been here since she was 5 years old.
Yes, I have been a boarder since I was 5 years old. I would have gone to school up until grade 6, where I did the GSAT, and then went to the Queen School, where I did 1st to 6th form. And then I went to the Shortwood Teachers College and I completed my degree, and now I'm back teaching English.
Students, where possible, are integrated into high school, and we have seen notable achievements with some receiving university education.
I learned a lot of things here. I learned how to, the first and most important skill that I learned was to socialize with my peers. Because as a blind person, it's sometimes not very easy to relate to persons. Here is where I learned to read Braille and write, and I also learned to play the recorder as a musical instrument. I also learned home economics here, food preparation and clothing and textile, that would later equip me when I went to the Queen School. This is one of the most important institutions for a person with disability. You are able to relate here when you can't relate at home. The staff here are the parents away from home. The students spend most of their time here, so they rely heavily on the members of staff here for moral support, for physical, anything that has to do with support, you name it, it's here. It has been an amazing experience to be back here. I am able to relate to the students here because of my situation, so it's not very hard to pass on. It's easy to get to let them gain from my experience as well as others who have gone before me. Pre-pandemic, I would have been here, they would have been writing Braille, doing technology in English, like using the computers, and I would have been marking like that. Now in the pandemic, we're using mostly phones, tablets, so we're using WhatsApp and Google Classroom to get information across. It has been challenging at times, but rewarding when they actually complete the assignments and can give them a grade. It's not easy with them not having sometimes enough data to attend classes, but we manage because this school has a very good support system that we can work inside and outside of the classroom with the students.
Their motto, united to bring out the best. This has been the PBCJ's A Different Life. Thanks for watching and see you next time.